Hi everyone, Mary Biancalana here with another helpful self-care video. And today we're going to be talking about the bottom of the foot and pain that's caused in the area where a bunion would be in your big toe. So let's take a look at the foot and some of these key muscles. The first muscle we're going to talk about, as you can see from the illustration that's just popped up here, is the Flexor Digitorum Brevis. And we're going to be finding these pesky trigger points as marked by the black X's in the illustration about halfway between where the pads of the toe or the pads of the foot or metatarsal pads would be and the distal edge of the heel bone or the calcaneus. These trigger points can be found in the middle portion of the foot. Trigger points in the Flexor Digitorum Brevis can cause pain that we feel right at the pads of the foot, and so this can be pretty debilitating. When we treat the Flexor Digitorum Brevis, we want to bring the toes into extension. That means I'm going to pull all of the toes back. Here I've got a Jacknobber tool brought to us by the Pressure Positive Company, and I can apply pressure directly into the area where those trigger points may be located. And remember, I'm going to be pressing at a discomfort level of less than a 6 out of 10 on a scale of 1 through 10. I'm going to be applying gentle, careful pressure. I'm going to keep the tool there for 10 to 15 seconds. Then I may take the toes off and bring them into flexion. You might be asking yourself, what in the world do I have around my toes? Well, this is a silicone toe spreader. And you can see I've used these straps to bring the silicone toe spreaders between each one of the toes. I highly recommend these for anyone with foot pain or toe pain because it allows the muscles in the foot to be spread and a little more stretched, specifically the flexors and extensors, as well as the interosseous muscles, but we'll be talking about them later. So the next muscle we're going to be talking about is going to be the Flexor Hallucis Brevis and the Super 7 muscle, the adductor hallucis. And again, the adductor hallucis muscle or the Super 7 muscle can cause pain, as you can see by the illustration, that again stays right at the bottom of the foot and again towards the edge of the foot where the foot pads are. So this adductor muscle brings the big toe muscle in toward the midline. So we want to bring the big toe out away from the midline while we are going to be, I'm going to use a different tool now, while we're going to be using a knobble to press up at the top. And again, you can follow the trigger point illustration. The adductor or the Flexor Hallucis Brevis is going to be found longer underneath the pad of the toe, and we're going to be applying pressure while we again bring that foot into extension. We can back away the pressure, shorten it, bring it into flexion, and bring it back up in extension. And we're going to again be following along the side edge here while we're pressing. When we also talk about the final muscle, let's go back to the Flexor Hallucis. Hallucis is a fancy name for the big toe, and that muscle, believe it or not, really isn't a flexor much, but it does act as a flexor, and it's going to be counteracting the pull of the adductor hallucis. So we're going to be bending the toe in all directions while we apply trigger point pressure release. I could also use the index knobber brought to us by the Pressure Positive Company to apply this pressure. And I want to be careful. If you have a bunion, we want to begin to bring the big toe out into neutral and less into adduction. The bunion is actually formed as a way for the bone surfaces to firm up the control or the attachment of the actual toe to the metatarsal head. So if you have a large bunion there, you want to be careful, but you want to make sure that you're using a toe spreader, and you may even be able to make a larger toe spreader for the first and second toes to bring that big toe out back to neutral if you do have a bunion. And then the last muscle we're talking about are going to be the dorsal interosseous. And those are the muscles that you can see by the illustration lay between each of the foot bones or the metatarsal bones. the application of the toe spreaders is really going to serve you to help separate the metatarsal bones and make it easier to treat right in between the foot bones at the bottom of the foot. Now I've got an index knobber with no knob at the end, and again I can use this to press upward and in between each one of the separate metatarsal bones, and again it'll be easier for you to see that via the picture that's here to the side. So that is our discussion on how to eliminate pain that is felt at the bottom of the foot, at the distal or farther away portion, more along the pads of the foot. Brought to you by Mary Biancalana, Muscle Health LLC, and the Chicago Center for Myofascial Pain Relief. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and I hope you pause the video and you're able to do your own self-care on your feet. Your feet should feel so much better after you do self-care. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.